whole chain is. You don't understand the meaning of logistics in the development of the country, but we see ourselves as a cog, a really essential part of the transformation that we're hoping to give to Ghana. With our experience, we're now shifting into hybrid vehicles and into electronic vehicles because we feel that that is the way forward. And based on that, we have done a lot of research. We've visited battery making factories in China. We've seen the best brands of vehicles that we want to bring here. So we think that we're very, very much in tune with the government's green agenda, and that is the way forward as far as we think. We think this is an opportunity for us, just like we leapfrogged the landline straight into mobile technology. I think we can leapfrog straight into the best of electronic technology, which means electronic vehicles as well. So we are in a position where we have a lot of Ghanaian brains here that we think that we can cultivate to make cars that are suited for Ghana. At the moment, we're bringing cars that are suited for other terrain. But I think what we can do now is that with the brain knowledge, we're not inventing anything. All we're doing is adapting it to our market. So we'll be looking to adapt vehicles that will suit our market.
Fantastic. Now, I mean, you mentioned hybrid. I mean, most of us here don't understand that word. So can you explain to us that hybrid, what is that? I mean, how does it apply?
Okay, even in the most advanced countries, in America, in Europe, even in China, they're not totally 100% electric. The infrastructure is not in place to be able to do that. So what they have come up with is a combination of an electric and an ICE, that is internal combustion engine. With Ghana, the way that we are, we think that unless we have the infrastructure in place, it's going to be a bit difficult to go totally electric. So what we have done is that we're bringing hybrid vehicles, and we're bringing extended range hybrid vehicles. For instance, the vehicle that we have on show here, which is the ROX 01, is an extended range hybrid vehicle that it only runs on a 1.5 liter engine, a pretty small engine. And then it has 2 electric motors that go with it. But it has the performance of a sports car. You know, the speed. I mean, it can do 0 to 100 kilometers in about 5.5 seconds. That's sports car territory. And the extended range gives it, with a full tank, which is, I think, about 60 liters, and the 2 motors charged, you can do a distance between 1,115 kilometers to 1,300 kilometers, which means that basically you can use it for well over a month before having to go and fill it with anything. And you can charge it easily at home as well. So those are the things that we think will be good for the Ghanaian market, where you can charge at home. Every car comes with a home charger.
Wow.
So what we think is that if we can make fuel cheaper for people without reducing the luxury of the vehicle, we'll be able to, to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
So it's not too bourgeois, it's actually more economical? Is that what you're saying?
In terms of luxury, it's up there with all the best cars. I mean, it's there with the Range Rovers and the Mercedes, but in terms of performance, it's better than even a Toyota Corolla. So you have the best of both worlds.
Wonderful. You didn't clap because you're not happy, but it's very economical, like you said. Whoa. All right. I'll go back to Jada. We see that, Uber came in, and then we saw some speed. Frankly speaking, I was very, very, surprised at how, with all the traffic and all of that, I thought Uber was not going to survive it, especially the way Accra is so choked. And our conditions, the road conditions and the network and all of that. At that time, we didn't have much, exposure in terms of the address system and all of that. I'm addressing the speed with which that mission, that innovation has actually gone. How do you explain that? That speed.
So there are resulted in the speed. More so then than now. At the time, we were the only player. We were a smaller company globally. And what that meant, and tends to mean still, is you're a lot more nimble. When a company is starting up, typically, with my exposure and experience with startups, there's a lot more flex. You don't necessarily have SOPs in place and systems that cause a lot of friction. You're able to hit the ground running really quickly. And I think at the time, we were able to do that. We had the support of the administration, which you can't underestimate. Our head of policy yesterday and I were talking about wherever Uber goes, you have to have a policy person. Our government relations is key. In some markets, we have government support. That helps us to move very, very quickly. In markets where we don't, you see us staggering almost. So at the time when Uber landed, we had a very supportive political environment as well. And then I think the final thing is innovation can't necessarily thrive in a vacuum. You have to, and this is what this whole talk is about, you have to have other things sometimes to enable that innovation to peak. Without Google Maps or without a mapping system, as you've pointed out, given the way Accra is laid out, we wouldn't have been successful. Talking to a driver just yesterday, he said your map is superior because you can either bolt on to an existing mapping or you can create your own. And I know some of our competitors have created their own. We didn't feel the need to reinvent the wheel because there was already a really sophisticated mapping system in use. So being able to do that allowed us, you've got the political environment, you've got a startup, people are excited, want to get things off the ground. And the startup ecosystem in Ghana at the time was booming as well. And then you have a mapping system. And then Uber or ride-hailing, I always say you have to look at in terms of supply and demand. Some countries are oversupplied, some are under. In Ghana, you had a young population, unemployment rates which were high, so the supply is there. So essentially, you have a perfect sort of environment for the innovation or the product to thrive. Now we have a lot more competition. Things are a bit more challenging. But at the time when we launched, all those came together to provide the perfect environment for us.
Yes, that's very, very important, the enabling environment. And I remember, like I told you, back in the days, before they came, you guys came to Ghana, I was one of the few privileged people that I got to engage your team back in New York. And it was quite, some kind of, because we had no clue how we're going to do this in Ghana. And here you are. Now, I would want you to still tell us, how do you balance the speed of the innovation with reliability? Building user trust and reliability. How do you balance that?
So, a few things. First of all, when it comes to the speed of innovation, I think you had mentioned before, you're not necessarily building something new, but you have to take the local context into consideration. So we actually go, to some extent, at the speed of the country, at the speed of Accra. We can't go beyond that. We can try, but if you don't have an enabling environment, you're going to fall flat. So that, I think, is what we always bear in mind. And again, when you look at ride-hailing as a whole, if you don't localize, you're not going to have the speed. You're just not going to be able to innovate in a meaningful way, in a way that helps your riders, that enables or empowers your drivers. So we allow the local context to guide us somewhat when we're innovating. And then in terms of reliability, as I've just explained, everything we look at is supply and demand. The supply being our drivers. Thankfully, we have a lot of young men and women in a position to need jobs and can therefore, supply the hours. Where we run into problems, anyone who's been in ride-hailing will tell you, is access to vehicles or vehicle financing. right? That is really, if you look at our reliability metrics, it's impacted by the fact that we don't have enough vehicles or the ability to own multiple vehicles. And when you don't have that, although you have the drivers, you're not going to be able to put them in cars, which then impacts the reliability of the platform. In terms of what we do or how we innovate for that, there's a lot of funding and financing that's tied to green. And so with the advent of electric vehicles, what we're seeing now, I'm sure, I mean, in the last week or so, I've been in 3 electric vehicles on our platform. And that's something that's been happening over the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. And I would say because there's a lot of funding and financing tied to green initiatives, it's opening the door for drivers to be able to get vehicles now, for fleets to be able to acquire vehicles to put the drivers in, which improves our reliability. So we're working within the environmental framework. The platform wants to be completely green by 2030. Of course, that's going to be guided by a local infrastructure, but certainly that's the goal. And so with that, we are able to, I think, improve our reliability metrics. It's just about opening up. You know, you talked about hybrid. We've looked at CNG. We've looked at LPG. So with the different forms of energy, we're able to acquire more vehicles. Once you have more vehicles, you have a reliable platform. Everyone's happy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think you've done justice to my question.
Good.
Right. I agree with you that, I mean, with the enabling environment created and the young, I mean, teeming Ghanaian population that's so hardworking and wanting to improve our connectivity, your innovation will grow and grow very faster. Thank you so much. So I come to you, Eric. I was at your end and I saw the map that you had. Now I'm asking you too. I see that you are fast growing, and I would want you to tell me how that speed of the innovation that you have is actually, I mean, meeting the reliability, I mean, expectation of your population, the target population, and also building their trust that yes, we can go to a station here to do this and do that and charge our battery, replace it. I know you even give them the opportunity to just drop their batteries and pick another battery. Can you tell us how that speed, how fast do you want to go? You know, given the I don't know if you also have some competition, and are you scared?
Am I scared? I don't know. I think competition makes you probably stronger. I think the market's so big that there's enough for everybody to take, actually. So I mean, estimated figures are maybe like 500,000 motorcycle riders in Ghana. Some estimates I've heard is up to 1 million. A large proportion of those, I mean, in the north they're commuters, but in most major cities they're doing business with the motorcycle. So commercial Okada guys, or I mean, a lot of it they're tools to make money. I think our main proposition really is that we provide that ability at a lower cost. So maintaining a bike is cheaper, an electric bike is cheaper, the energy cost is cheaper, and you have a lot of like financing platforms now that provide easy access to these EVs to make the daily costs quite competitive. But on the speed and scale, I think because all of our innovation around the customer and how we deliver our services on the ground, it's all about having the right type of team. And so you need people that can build technology, that can innovate around the customer, and I think that's where it starts. If you got a good team in-house, they will adapt to anything. And so I think it's about people. It's not, the market is big enough. I think we want to take a large chunk of that, but with the right team, I think that's doable. I think it's about people. And the nice thing in Ghana is that you actually have the youth that can do this today. There isn't a problem in talent here. There's maybe a problem in job opportunities, but actually there's not a problem in talent. And I think a lot of our team, if I were to drop them into California or New York, will survive immediately, no issues whatsoever, both technically and capability-wise.
Great.
Yeah.
But tell me, the reliability, I want to dwell a bit on it. Now let's assume that, I mean, an Okada rider goes for an electric, motorbike, and he's on your kind of battery.
Yeah.
And he's in maybe Choco area, and he's riding, and the battery is indicating red that is about to run down.
Yeah.
How can you help such a person? How do you help such a person?
Yeah, good question. You saw the maps at the office. So really the main provision for us is to make sure that when a rider turns up at a station that has batteries, they can get a battery in less than 2 minutes from point of arrival.
Less than 2 minutes?
Yeah, from point of arrival. They enter, if there's a queue or not a queue, the whole process should be less than 2 minutes. And we think we can get it down to like seconds. But today the target is less than 2 minutes, which means it is no worse than filling your tank full of petrol. It's the same and maybe even easier. But to do that, we have to monitor in real time all the batteries and all the stations in the network. Today we have about 1,500 batteries moving around the network at any point in time.
How many?
1,500.
1,500 batteries.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so we need to ensure that when users turn up at a station, we already know that they're coming, so that the batteries are ready for them when they arrive. And this includes charging the batteries at the right speed. It includes moving batteries around the network if we have to. So underpinned in all this, we're not using AI today, but the technology platform is built to enable it so that we can truly optimize to ensure we deliver that to customers. And we run a 24/7 operations desk that monitors night and day to deliver
Here we
this.
don't say 24/7, we say 24-hour economy.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, great. So let me ask you again. Now I get to the battery, charging spot. I'm able to swap my battery. At what cost?
So we currently are priced at about 10% cheaper than petrol on a per kilometer basis. So our battery swap is around 17 CDs for a fully charged battery.
17 or
CDs, yeah, 17 CDs. And that battery gives you...
less than 20 CDs.
Yeah.
I want to be sure because it sounded like 70 CDs.
No, not 70, 17.
17 CDs.
Yeah.
And you swap your battery.
And you swap your battery.
Wow.
And then that battery gives you between 45 to 55 kilometers of range.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to increase the sales of my guys.
Okay.
Oh, they're making a lot of money.
Well, they should be saving money.
Saving money.
Yeah.
Whoa. I see. Thank you very much, Eric. I think this is food for thought. So the young guys out there, you better jump on electronic motorbikes and make more money to buy more motors so that, we can move swiftly. You know, sometimes when I'm running late for some meetings, I jump on some of these motorbikes, and I take some photos of myself on a motorbike just to scare my family a little because, anyway, that's good. So let me come to you, Ronald. Yes, you've mentioned you've been around and you are one of the giants in the space. How do you see yourself and how fast would you go? And I know that with this session, there are a lot of teeming young people, and when they see the rocks, they will think that, when I grow someday, perhaps I may want to have this. Do you have anything for the teeming youth? Do you have something that my guys can also benefit from that?
Yes, we do. Like I said, because we are a Ghanaian company and we know what Ghanaians want, we don't go head first into anything. We like to make sure that whatever we introduce to our people is something that they need. So having gathered that experience. I think the next step now that we're coming to the general public is that the biggest problem, which Ms. Uber mentioned, was about financing.
I love that because I call her Uber.
It was about financing because we have a lot of very, very energetic and entrepreneurial youth who, given the chance, would be able to run their own businesses. If it's even just running a single Uber, it's a business in itself. So, having studied the terrain, we're thinking of how can we get these kids and young people to be able to afford the vehicles to run their own businesses. And one of the things that we're thinking of doing is introducing runner financing, where if you meet the criteria, we can give you the vehicle on hire purchase. And we think that is what is driving a lot of the economies abroad. We don't see why it cannot be brought here to us as well. I believe that more people are honest than not. So given the chance, I believe that we'll be able to help, set a lot of people up. And not just for Uber, but for workers as well. Our vision is to get most Ghanaians driving new cars, being able to afford new cars. Now, most people can afford new cars. It's just that they can't pay for it at once. So if we can work out a way where they can pay a deposit and spread the rest over something that's affordable, I think in a very short time we'll be able to get Ghanaians driving new cars. And the newer EVs and hybrids are cheaper than the older internal combustion engine cars. So we can bring cars of good quality, more affordable and cheaper as well. So, being a typical Ghanaian company, we can think in terms of Ghana and Ghanaians. And if I was in this position, how would I like to be treated? We don't need to go and seek clearance from any company or any boss abroad. We make our decisions here and there. So if it is something that is suitable for us and we decide that we can do it, we'll go ahead and do it. Now, we have a very good team. People think we're much bigger than we are, but the core team all believe in Rono. Any of my people could have sat here and told you everything that I'm saying because we're in this together, from the CEO, the MD, down to the last person. We all talk Rono. So if you go and interact with any of us, you know that we all have the same DNA running through our system. Okay, so with us, we think that we can match, if not better, most of the other competitors that are out there. And we welcome competition. We think that competition is good for us. It makes us sit up. So and I don't want to be too critical, but I think when people impose things on us, which I see some of the people imposing things they think we'll like, not things that we need, that's what gets our hair up, because they look fine and whatever, but in the long run, is it something that's going to be able to sustain? We have built a state-of-the-art service center. So every vehicle that we sell, we can give a manufacturer's warranty. We will be taking responsibility. And with the EVs, we're putting up charging stations in our offices where if you buy from us, you can come and charge for free. Whoa. Okay, so those are the things that we are looking at as a Ghanaian company working for Ghanaians.
Right, and I think that this is great news for my guys out there, because I'm sure everybody yearns to have a tear rubber. That one is sweet. I tell you, the aroma, the scent in the car alone, and the spirit behind the tear rubber stuff is quite fascinating. And so what, Sir James is telling us is that they have that a payment plan or a payment structure under the Rono Finance scheme. Is that?
We will be the thing is that we're going to be opening our new showroom, ultra-modern showroom, hopefully by December in January. And once that is open to the public and you see the vehicles we have there, then we can go into all the other things. But these are plans that we have in the pipeline that are going to come into fruition.
Yes, and then in your earlier submission, you mentioned that you could even set up charging units for the individual who purchases the car at home. Is that correct?
Yes, every vehicle that we supply comes with a home charger.
Okay.
It comes with a home charger. And we have a couple of charging vans where we can come to you anytime you run out of juice. We can come to you and come and top you up to get to the next charging point or to home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is interesting. This is very interesting. So the tier rubber stuff, the scary part where people were thinking that, how am I going to charge my car and all of that? I mean, listening to my panelists today tells you it should allay your fears because Kofa is here. And they are also into the battery. Because from fast food to all of the motors, deliveries here and there and all of that. Which of them is so fascinating and makes you very, very proud?
To be really honest with you, I think Korea.
Your Korea?
Korea. The reason why I say that is it poses novel challenges. Korea keeps us all on our toes. To sort of reiterate what you were saying about Rana and how the whole team's drinking the Kool-Aid. It's the same thing in the Uber office. We're all in this together. Right. We all do our late nights together. We roll up our sleeves. And although we have, I call her Queen of Korea, she runs Korea, any support that the rest of the team can give her to ensure that that product succeeds, we give her. Now, why is Korea so fascinating? With four-wheelers, you have what I would call full-time workers, people who do this as a job. It brings in, it's their main source of income. And then on the other end, you may have students, sort of for two-wheelers, students who are doing this part-time in between classes to maybe make an earning. Korea, we haven't quite understood the type of person because it's not necessarily their full-time role, and they're not necessarily students doing something else. So you have these guys who, they just pop up. They work very quickly. They're very efficient. They're very sort of knitted together. It's a community. I would say courier drivers tend to be a community. With four-wheelers, you have maybe, one guy doing, as you said, running his own business. But with courier, there's a lot more unity amongst them. So if these guys want to make it difficult for us, they really could. But also, you're looking at delivering in an environment where typically we haven't used two-wheelers to deliver anything other than food. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done even from a policy perspective. We're constantly in communication with our regulator and our ministry about the rules and regulations there. What can you deliver? What are the limits? What are the weight restrictions? Can you deliver medication, for example? I think you should be able to deliver medication, but I can completely understand why there's a lot of red tape and regulation around that, right? You can easily abuse something like that. So while we can't carve out, for example, an Uber product that is specifically delivering medication, I think we will see a day where we will be able to legally deliver medication. I say legally because at the moment, your courier doesn't know what's been handed to them, and they don't necessarily have the right to check that, right? You assume that the rider has signed up to some terms and conditions and the recipient. But I'm hoping for a day where some of these things that are not supposed to be or that cannot be transported can be, and to really rural parts. At the moment, the concentration for two-wheelers is very much in Accra. The demand is here, and also the need for those things. There is an awareness of two-wheelers being able to deliver things now. I would say Lagos is our biggest market where two-wheelers deliver everything from wigs to shoes to, you name it. But I'm looking forward to a time where in Ghana, in the rural parts, and Sawam and beyond, our two-wheelers can penetrate those areas where someone needs medication critically, and we have the sign-off for that. Or someone needs a spare tire somewhere, and someone's able to, so sort of niche and really hard to come by products in hard to come by areas. I would say for me, that would be the most exciting thing or the exciting development to see happen with our two-wheeler delivery product.
Phenomenal. I would just so dwell on that because what we're doing here is actually informing policy. And from here, whatever you're saying on this stage, it's actually going to inform the next step, the next line of action at the ministry level, where we would have the opportunity to invite you again to help us fine-tune some of the regulations you spoke about and some of the policies that exist. And that was the reason, the rationale behind this whole, the fair. That's one aspect of the fair, where we want to hear from you what affects you in terms of the context, the local context.
Yeah.
What affects you and your innovation strategy in the country. You know? So, would you, be willing to, support a call for some of these revisions?
Absolutely.
To let the, policies be reviewed to align with the current trends and what the future looks like for your innovation strategy in the country?
No, absolutely. I think first of all, I alluded before to the fact that wherever Uber goes, we know we're going to have a policy battle on our hands. So we always have a dedicated policy person. I think my head of policy might be here on his way. And to your point, one of the things that hinders our innovation, our ability to move very quickly, sometimes even to scale, is the policy environment. If it's not favorable, you are constantly spending time with the regulators and the politicians when you should be actually innovating, improving the product, looking at the operational metrics, doing some marketing, all these other things that help the company and the product grow, improve. For us, we are always compliant. We always seek to be compliant, but at the same time, we are a business. And it's really important for us to deliver for our stakeholders, for our earners. People often think of Uber, and you always think, before I joined, I certainly thought of the rider, of the customer. Why isn't there a promotion? Why is it this? Why is it that? Actually, once you get into the company, you realize everything is about the earners. Because if you don't have them, you don't actually have a platform. You can have the demand. If you don't have the earners, we're not going anywhere. So there also needs to be a lot of policy that enables them. Some of the policies we find in this environment are unfortunately quite prohibitive. If you start requesting licenses, for example, and when I say licenses, licensing, for example, for delivering, let's say, medication. This isn't something in view at the moment. For the individual rider, who by the time you work out his earnings and what he's taking home, he's making a decent earning, but you don't want to further dip into that. So I think you can legislate and have policy that might enable the fleet, for example, to obtain the license, which would then cover the individuals. But if at the individual level you start putting in policies or you start impounding because they're not able to afford, I think it's like 1,000 cedis, for example, for a particular license, it's very prohibitive for these same people who we say we want to empower and get into employment. There needs to be a balance there, all right? So I think for us, as I say, we're always happy to comply, whichever geography we're in, and certainly for Ghana, we are always keen to work with government. We are keen to have these conversations. We are more than happy. I think when it came to